Satu Dave. Hope you guys are well. Y'all ever had those weeks you don't even know what day of the week it is? That's pretty much been my week this week. Not in a bad way, in a good way, but just kind of clueless of what was going on. So last week when I left off was debate. Should I or shouldn't I put a fuller on the Venom M1? Well, if you hadn't seen the Instagram post, of course I did. I put a fuller on it because I can't leave nothing alone. And kind of sort of what I posed the question was, is this too light or should I darken it up? But can you see that subtleties in that steel? Can you see that stuff in the steel that I didn't see before? Hopefully you can see some of that stuff. And it was darker before, so it just didn't pop like it does right now. But look at all that character in that steel. Man, that looks so good. So I did a little video on this one, basically kind of sort of show you the procedure, basically how I thought about trying to do the mod and how I ended up doing the mod. So I'm going to splice that in here so y'all can kind of sort of see a little bit of behind the scenes or thought processes behind it. And all right, so the Venom M1, the flipper tab, it's just after you play with it for a while, it just kind of rubs on you. So the size of this, not this back side so much, this side and the front is pretty square and rough. So I got to round that off. I'm going to put it where you can see it, sorry. I got to round this little edge right here off on both sides. And I feel like the point is just a little too pointy, similar to the hinderer kind of stuff. The only difference is this is a lot more mass, so it takes more to kind of break the detent and get it flying. So as I put my finger on here and do this shape, this little undercut right here is kind of sort of what I'm going to go for reshaping the flipper tab. Now, if you watch it, it's not super fast, so it's a little slow. It doesn't have a huge lockout sign. It's just kind of it locks out solid, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't have the sound that you like. Let's just use this one for instance. So, you know, you get a Medford and it gets that certain, a lot more tension and everything else has a lot to do with it, but you know, it always hits hard. It has that hole. I'm locking in and you can hear it lock in. This is like you close the door, but it's all the way shut. That's the kind of feeling I get with that one. So, I'm thinking if I cut the fuller in here and reduce some weight or some mass out of the blade, it might make it better. So now I got to kind of figure out, looking at the knife, what's the best way to kind of go about putting a fuller in there. So, you know, I could just go straight across, kind of split it, and that's kind of what I'm leaning towards. I could always, you know, try to do a pattern in it to mimic the profile, which I don't think I'm going to have a whole lot of success for on the mill to match this curve and that curve. I could get probably pretty close with a rotary table, but I don't know if I want to sit there and mess with it. Sorry, once again, not in the camera good. So I think what I'm gonna do is take the blade off and I'm gonna put it on the surface plate and take a magic marker and just kind of trace some lines on it and see which ones I like best. And I'll kind of show you that process of me trying to figure out where I laid this out, and then I'll take it over to the mill and show you how I'm gonna set it up and try to do it. I just realized I hadn't showed you guys the knife pulling apart, so let's see if we can get everything in here. So he is running those hardened steel washers underneath the bearings. You see I already converted to skiffs. It had the other bearings in it when I got it. I lubed everything up when I got it, but I did notice that the detent ball, let's see if it'll focus here. Focus, grasshopper. Focus, there we go. The detent's got a flat spot on the top of it. I don't know if you can see that or not. So I probably will change that, and see it's a steel ball, so I'll probably change that out to a ceramic. See if we can get a little better feel of the detent. But everything blown apart, everything construction wise is pretty much what you expected, or what I expected anyhow. I've obviously been in here before, but nothing, you know, unexpected in here. But I just got the blade apart, so I figured I'd just show you the whole knife apart. All right, so I got the blade. This is just a pin. This is a gauge pin, and I got the stop pin in it. So what I'm kind of sort of doing is trying to eyeball what I want for that fuller to look like. In the closed position and the open position, right? So in the closed position, I'm just using those pins to kind of hold position there. And I'm just kind of turning it over and looking. I'll get a magic marker real quick. Hang on one sec. If I was more prepared, but I'm not. All right, so magic marker. So whereabouts do we want this fuller? So finger groove wise, this is the groove I want to be in, but I want to have it a little bit longer than what it is. So I'm thinking something similar to this. But I have no idea what that's going to look like in the open position. Hopefully you can see that. That's just a guesstimate. So I want to be able to come in here and get that fuller, flick it out, right? So I could move a little bit closer to the spine or a little bit closer to the edge, either way. But just generally speaking, like take this wedge part apart, but just from this line to this line, they're pretty symmetrical. That's what I was thinking, like even this way, just eyeballing it was. And we're just eyeballing it right now, so we're trying to get an idea how do we want to lay it out. So when it goes all the way off in the off position, like when it's out, that's what it's going to look like. I think that goes pretty good with the overall look at the knife. So now it's a matter of sitting down with this and trying to draw the line out straight, so when I get over to the mill, I can kind of sort of line it up how I want to line it up. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, so I kind of got some marks drawn on this. They're not set in stone and able to move it, but how I was kind of laying it out, I was just basically guessing between this spine and about the length I wanted here, and then the edge of the chamfer and the length I wanted there. It's a little off. And then same here, I was going from the grind lines to the edge and the grind lines to the edge. It's fairly close. It's not perfect, but it's fairly close. But it's just a guideline, and I'm trying to see now, do I like it this way, laid out this way? And if I do, I'll basically will set the end mill up, or the ball mill, either way, or whatever way tool I end up using with it, to basically make the path the same distance and then the same length as this. So now I just basically want to test it. So the same thing as before, I just got my gauge pen sitting in my frame here, and you know, it doesn't really matter. It's not like actually locking up, but we're just kind of emulating what it's going to look like, right? So this would be the closed position. So fuller would slightly come past that finger joint, but which would be fine. It wouldn't hurt nothing as far as visually. I think it would look fine. And then all the way out. Sorry, I got to do this off camera because I ain't got enough room here. All the way out. Let's flip the sucker around so we can all see it like right way. And then all the way out. Let's move this thing too. All the way out, looks something like that. All the way out, I'm digging the look of it. I think it looks pretty good, symmetrical wise. So if anything, I might move this up just a little bit and shorten the whole thing up. But I don't know, we'll see, because I think I like the way it looks right now, and I kind of want to remove enough material to lighten this blade too. So we'll see. All right, going from here. All right, quick little explanation of the setup here. So I put tape on the back side of the knife, so when it's laying down, it's not sitting on anything. I went through the pivot because I want to sit on this flat spot. You only got a flat spot here and here. I obviously can't clamp here because I'm going to be machining here. I might be able to put one out here, but it's still like, it's going to be in the way of the path, right? So put one bolt through the pivot, and then on this back side, you see the knife is still free. I'm just going to come up and bank on this bolt on this back side right here. Like, it doesn't have to be clamped down. But if this thing moves, if it catches, it's going to push it that direction, because the way the tool's turning is going to try to push it this way. So it can't move. So I'm trying to keep it from being as rigid as possible. So now that it's touching here, I'll go ahead and tighten this and this down. And then I'll put this on the table in here, and I'll line it up with the spindle to where I get this path front and back. And what I'll do is just put a tool in here with a sharp point, so I can kind of run it back through, and I'm just going to eyeball it. And then I'll basically get a starting point and a finish point and go from there. All right. All right, sorry about the handheld, but I just the best way I could do it. So I already had this clamped on this plate. I didn't say it last video, but this plate was decked on this surface. So as long as it was clean, and you can see it was clean and stoned, it should be flat, parallel. I already got the banking screw there and the pivot tighten on this plate. I put the plate up here, and I basically just clamped it, one loose clamp back here, and then just twisted this plate until I got it lined up how I wanted it. Now you can see it's not touching, but it's just a center drill on there. And I could turn it on and show you better with it spinning. But basically, as I move this table, you can see it pretty much follows that line. And the center of that line is pretty much exactly where it's going to be, right? If anything, it's a little inboard from where that line would be, which is totally fine. So I measured from the line to the edge, and it's 200 thousandths. So if I use a 1/4 inch end mill, it's 125 thousandths, which should leave 75 thousandths back here and back here, which would probably be just about right. So it's going to be kind of an eyeball thing, like getting the edges of it exactly even. I might just, go with the marks I already had and just kind of sort of guess, but that was just a guesstimate on there. So at this point, it's pretty much just sitting at the machine and getting what I want it to look like. And then I got to figure out how to kind of blend it in with the W2 Hamon finish there. All right. Well, here's the basic setup. You see I got to put a toe clamp right there on that flat to hold it from vibrating. Also got that bolt in there. Then the stop back here, and the plates toe clamp 3 spots. The thing I can't really do as we're sitting here looking at it is I can't really measure from this spot to this and this spot to here because this clamp's in the way. So I'm gonna remove this clamp to make sure that the length of this looks about right. But you can see that the height from the full looks good. I can't tell the symmetry because this clamp's in the way too, so I'm gonna pull the clamp off and see what it looks like. All right, so as I was kind of sort of ending that other video, I never really showed you before I did the finishing on this one. The finishing was the wild card on this one because I didn't really know how I was going to finish the fuller. I got it done and it was really shiny compared to it was a darker edge at the time. It clashed, man. I had to do something different with it. So, broke out the ferric chloric acid and did it basically like Damascus. Like I had no idea really how to do it, but I just kind of took a stab at it. So you acid etch it, come out, and you sand a little bit, and you acid etch, and you take it out, and you sand a little bit finer grit until you kind of work it way up. So this one's, if you can see the shine on it, hopefully you can see a little bit of the shine. The light kind of takes it away. Let me see if I can turn this light off for half a second here. Maybe it's still shiny. Hopefully it is. So this is actually finished up to like, when I did sandpaper up to like 2000 grit, and then I had some micro mesh, which is like a sand type paper. It's a sandpaper, but it's made for like airplane windows to take the scratches out of the airplane windows. So it's not really like made for steel and stuff, but it still works. So anyway, up to 8000 grit with that. And then I was debating on making it darker, but to me, like the class and all that stuff you see in the steel that you couldn't see when it was a little darker, or at least it wasn't as defined. I had to keep it there, man. Like it just looks so cool. Like I just love the textures of steel and stuff. Hardware, y'all know I had to blast that heat coloring off there. I can't stand stainless steel that's heat colored. That's just, I hate that shit. And then it had the Damascus clip on it. I know someone suggested that I use winks on it to kind of strip it, but keep the kind of two-tone camo look. I kind of like that on some knives, man, but this just wasn't one of them for me. Like, this is more subdued, so I blasted and stone washed it, and it's already getting some scratches in it, so it's starting to look classy already. To me, anyhow, how I like my knives. The Detent Ball. I went to a ceramic detent ball. So in case you didn't know, I think everybody pretty much does, but the hamon is basically made, you clay this top portion, and so this part gets heat treated. It's harder than the spine is, so you got more flexibility here, more hardness here, which kind of helped in cutting the fuller because that's a ball groove in there. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's a ball. It's not end milled, it's ball milled. Plunging a ball mill is a little bit different than plunging an end mill. So I roughed it first and then plunged the ball mill in, and it worked fine. For anybody that knows what I'm talking about. Those that don't, I kind of sort of showed you in video a little bit. But when I changed that ceramic detent, so it's steel ball before it was flat spotted, and I showed you in that video, and now I put a ceramic in there because of the heat treat, I'm assuming. It kind of dug more of a track in there than I would have expected it to. So I'm assuming that metal is slightly softer with that harder ceramic detent ball. So it just requires, this knife in general, and I don't know if all W2s do or all hamon kind of do, but it requires more lube on that detent ball. So it's one of those things like, you could play with it for a week or two. You probably ought to put some oil on it before you pick it up and carry it again, because I noticed that immediately, like you can get like a gray kind of sort of finish on that detent ball when I clean it with alcohol. Relube it back up, actually feels better already. So overall, super happy with the way this one came out. Like both the flipper and the fuller work really great for me as I'm doing it left-handed. But still not a super fast knife, but it did take that fuller did take a little bit of steel out of it, and it does lighten it up enough to make it feel like it's got a different kind of feel to it now. So happy with the Venom M1. Even Jeff commented about how to, get the finish darker if I want to finish. That's just, man. When you have a personal interaction with, even if it's just comments through social media, it makes you want to work with that maker more. I know that Jeff's building the homicide for Denise, and he put a fuller in hers. And I don't know if that was inspired by me, she asked for it, or whatever the case may be, but I've not seen one before then. Maybe he does. Maybe I'm just not as familiar with his work. But I think that's cool as shit, personally. Like, kind of, it gives you more of a personal attachment to a knife, and that's kind of sort of the thing that makes me want to buy more shit from them. I guess that's me personally. I guess probably everybody's that way a little bit, but anywho, moving on. This guy, was the Rel Blade one I did 3V. Had T-Mac do the heat treat for me. Ev's got this one now, so this is Ev's, and he wanted the flipper deleted on it, so we did a little delete on that flipper. As I did the flipper delete, the edge came back more, and you know, if you're holding your knife, you know, in this grip right here, you can see that edge was too close to the way it was before, so I just kind of put a better sharpen control area on it. It's, you know, it can still very much get you, and I can feel it right there, but hopefully this is what he wanted. But this is now Ev's, so being that this is Evan's, I was messing with it a lot. Obviously, have it taken apart and put it back together. And I got mine back out, and I was like, you know what? I like this knife, but the action's just not good on it. So I decided to go ahead and do the bearing conversion on this one, because it was phosphor bronze. It was kind of the rare phosphor bronze. But the way Pete always did his pockets, he just pocketed the titanium and left the blade unpocketed for the bearing. I thought I'd change it up, and I'd do a little bit of both. And the reason I thought about this was like the bearing size that Pete uses with a 2mm ball, like the actual ball on the bearing. And I got thinking, like, does the size of the bearing ball matter? Like the height, like in the detent ball it does, because you know it's engaged in a hole, and you're using it with friction, and the height matters when it's coming across the blade. Like see how high that lock bar comes up above the scale, because this is such a huge, this is like a 3/32 ball, which you don't hardly ever see any of those. But the detent is so much stronger with that, and it's different. It's just a different feel. So like bruisers require, to me, a bigger detent ball. Like all the Medfords that use that 1/16 detent ball, none of them have good detents compared to, like, even you step up to like DSKs and you get the 2mm ball. It's like, it's a way better detent for a bruiser because it's a much heavier knife. But in the bearing pocket, the only thing I could think personally would be like maybe debris. Maybe it's a little bit better with debris if you have a bigger bearing, but bearings aren't really good for debris anyhow. So like, you probably got to take it apart and clean it anyhow. Having said all that, so I used the 16th bearings that basically came, that I got from Skiff for the hinder, to do that bearing conversion for the hinder. So basically it's got the same size bearings that the hinder would have in it. You know, 1/4 inch pivot, 1/16 ball. And also had some of those hardened steel washers I bought, because after messing with this Venom M1, I realized those hardened steel washers really do make a difference on the action. Like that's a very long, heavy blade, and the Skyke always has a slower action because it is a much thicker and heavier blade, wide-wise, everything else. Like, it's just not a super fast-moving knife on phosphor bronze, but on bearings, if I can get past the detent, like it pretty much turned this to butter. So it was a good experiment. I got on the mill again, obviously doing the fuller. The mill has some issues still. I basically just slided over to one side and basically using one little section of it, and kind of sort of having to monitor both dials to make sure nothing's moving as I'm trying to make it move, or as I'm trying to machine. I know you don't care. So I'm doing a limited amount of machine work, but I'm trying not to get too, I'm not trying to do too much for customers, I guess I would say. I don't mind doing it for myself, because I mess something up for myself. It's mine. I don't have to worry about it, but I don't want to take customers. I put it on a machine that I'm like, it's kind of questionable. You know, hopefully y'all can figure out what I'm saying. Say customer, but y'all know I really ain't a business. It's more like doing shit for friends and basically making a buck or two off of it, but it's more or less paying for supplies. I didn't really, you know, and it definitely ain't a profit, to put it that way. But anyway, I did the bearing pockets and conversion on this one. Since it's my only Skyke left now. Now you can see, I just said a minute ago that I wanted a fuller, and I don't have no way to finger flip this sucker. So this one is a prime candidate for getting a fuller soon. I don't know how much priority it's going to be and how much time it's going to be. It's one of those things that when I sit around, I'm looking for stuff to do. If this knife happens to be in my pocket or around me somewhere, I probably will do the fuller at that point. Or if I start carrying it more, maybe I'll do it then. I don't know. The other one, and I did a video on this one, the Beast Prime. So I did a reprofile of the blade on this one. I'm going to splice it in right here. All right, so we're kind of midweek here. I'm kind of, see all the supplies back here. I'm working on Hamon for that Venom M1. I already cut the fuller in it. I'll just show you when it's all done. I'm just trying to get that Hamon looking good. But I figured in the meantime, I'll go ahead and do this PNP. I can't remember what it's called. Beast Prime. So the last one I did, it went to Josh, but the last one I did, I just kind of took it from that point and ground it to like there, trying to get rid of this square stuff on the top. I think from this time, I'm going to take it from this last jump and kind of round it off and kind of go all the way to here. So this is kind of like, I guess some of y'all like what the video I did for Billy, but it was really meant for just me and him. It wasn't really meant for my public. So I'm going to try this one a little more on the up and up, I guess. So the first thing I'm going to do is kind of sort of, you see on this side where I kind of drew it. So what this line right here is basically a center line between the point that I want to go to here and the point that I want to go to here. And it's just a guideline. So when I'm grinding, as I'm laying the belt, laying the down, if here's the belt, as I'm going, I'm going to go in. I want to leave where this line is going to be the high point, because I basically want to arch it to here and then arch it back down, right? But it's a guideline to get me kind of sort of close. So I'll probably follow it pretty closely and then kind of start triangling it off, and then after that I'll kind of start rounding it. But that's just a basic idea of what I'm doing, and then afterwards I'm gonna acid stone wash it like y'all knew I was going to do anyhow, right? All right, so let's do this. All right, the knife's prep. You can see I kind of sort of put the tape line. It's a straight line, but it's not exactly where I want it, but it's a guideline for both sides, right? So I can kind of sort of grind either side I want to grind. If I'm grinding this way, a little bit this way, it's just a guideline. I got the edge kind of taped up because I know the last video everybody's kind of freaking out about, not everybody, a few people freaking out about it. But what I'm trying to make sure is that on the flat, so this part that's I'm banking on, there's not one single layer, so I'm not worried about shifting parallelism on both sides. You see it's just one layer of tape where the flat is. So when I can bank on this surface, it's going to protect it from the knife. So basically, I'm not going to do it. I have to put on my gear on and stuff because I don't want to do it with everybody on there, but I'm basically going to take it and just take it off. All right, so we got it roughed in now. So back to this. I don't know if you see that mark right there. That was pretty much the center line. You see I crowned it right on that and kind of radiused it on both other sides, and I'm trying to line it up with that swedge. Hope you see that swedge about the middle point. So that's kind of what the goal was. But I don't know what the knife looks like because it's covered up with tape, so we got to take it apart, see what it looks like. This is where we're at right now. You can see all I did was, let me turn it down real quick so you can see. I just used this is just a piece of plastic that's parallel. I just kind of rocked it on that as it's running. Simple as that. All right, so here's where we're at right now. You see at the end of it, just a little bit flat left on the end of it. But you see it kind of looks more like a nice little drop point tonto. Kind of a little more my flavor rather than that squared offness. So we'll put a different small wheel up here, and the grain on right now is running perpendicular to the flats. I want to run in parallel, so I'm just going to put that other wheel on here, try to fix that end spot. It'd be easier to do over on the other wheel anyhow. And I'm just going to re-kiss that and see if I can't clean it up. Come back when we get it done. All right, so that's the final look I was kind of going for. A little more aggressive looking tanto. You can see right now, this is what the grain on the back looks like, or the spine of the knife looks like. I'm probably going to sand it a little bit, give it a little bit of personality. I might even work on the sides a little bit, like some of the sides of this. I might touch a little bit, and then let's get ready for our acid stone wash. All right, just a quick little update. So that's the finished profile. Hopefully I can turn this so you guys can see this. There's the spine. So yeah, I did sand it. It all looks the same. But the next step in this, as far as me getting ready to blast it, I'm gonna aluminum oxide blast it. Then I'm gonna get ready to dip it in the acid. A couple little prep steps, but we'll do it one step at a time. So next step from this is gonna be blasting. So in those videos, I kept saying I was gonna acid stone wash it. I think I probably still will. I just got lazy, didn't want to do it. But I just wanted to show you the finish on, hopefully you can see this. See the finish on the spine? So I just want to show that to show you the work quality that I would get to here before I would even blast it. So if I was going to keep it like this, I'd probably go to a much finer grit. But this is where I take it to before I blast it. And then after I blast it, I acid stone wash it. I probably will do this one eventually. I just hadn't got super motivated to do it right now. I got some other stuff to probably acid stone wash for Kevin in a few minutes here. So I probably will, do that. Well, actually, I won't do it today because I got called in already, but maybe sometime this week. But on this one, I did different because
The last one I did, Josh liked, he ended up trading me his stock one for that modified one that I had done before. So I want to do this one completely different. So you can see this, the size of this one. It used to be chamfer milled, and I just kind of radiused them over and made it nice and smooth. And it feels so much different in the hand than the other one did. Of course, I had to blast it and refinish it all. But I, you know, every time I do something like that, I hate doing, like, if someone sees a knife mod that I did and was like, I want the exact same thing, like, that's not fun for me at all. I want to do something different. Like, just twist it up, do something a little different on every one of them. Repeating the same work is kind of like what I used to do as a machinist. And quite honestly, I'm not a machinist anymore for probably that's probably one of the main reasons why. It's like repetitive shit that I just don't give, I quit giving a shit about. So like when you quit giving a shit, you need to step away from it. And that's pretty much what I got to. But anyway, this one probably will be for sale eventually, if someone wanted it. But you know, that whole, I sold a lot of knives to donate money to victims of a lien, or if you want to call them victims, just people that needed help in North Carolina, especially Western North Carolina. I know that's more places than that just were affected, but that's where I'm moved here from, so that kind of connected more for me. Y'all know that McNee's knives, so like, you know, that's what I did. I sold a bunch of stuff, let y'all have fun buying stuff, but it helped me raise money so I can donate some over there. So it was kind of a full circle fun. And then McNee's did his auction, and I got the Mac 2 from him on that auction to benefit. It's a Christmas charity to benefit. And then he did the second one. And once I was alluding to, again, last week, the bid just wasn't high enough where I was comfortable with that. So I went ahead and just, you know, up the bid, hoping that someone would outbid me, but nobody did. This one's different. This is Come Hell or High Water, obviously, which is his little slogan he come up with for the Christmas charity. I think all his Christmas charity stuff's going to say that on it, and I think pretty much after that, it's probably going to be like a just for this charity. I don't think he's going to do it on other stuff just to read. And he put kind of a mountainous scene on this one. I guess if you want to criticize, that looks more like Rocky Mountains and Smoky Mountains. But I get the sentiment, like, you know, like he was just trying to put a mountain scene on it. The difference between this one and this one weight-wise, it doesn't feel a ton difference, but obviously this one is more, I kind of like the laser work because it's like, it gives you that traction kind of thing. It's definitely burned in. There's no way to describe it unless you've handled a laser knife, but it definitely has traction because of that laser. So I've actually had a couple of knives lasered. I had a couple of DSKs that were lasered too. The lasering is kind of cool because it gives you a design, but it also gives you the texture without doing, like, I say permanent, but it is kind of permanent. But you could get under this laser if you wanted to and refinish it and do different things you want to. So I'm not really sure what I'm going to end up doing with either of these Macs, if I'm going to keep them both. I originally thought about maybe trying to do a knife raffle off and then donate that money back to it. But, you know, like I was saying before, it's kind of like this was almost full circle for me because now I got to donate a little bit of money to get a knife. Basically, I, you know, paid 1.5 times what the knife will cost from the manufacturer, but I still get a knife in the end of it. So I donated to charity and got a knife. So it was kind of like the same thing that I asked you guys to do. So I don't know what I'm going to end up doing with that. Let's just do a size comparison because my buddy, Appalachian ADV Rider, if you don't follow his channel, you probably should. Good dude. He was saying, dude, that's such a small knife. I didn't think that it would be kind of your style. You know, he's right and he's wrong because I think that, like, over time, like, I think, like, I had that Urban Hest that was made by, was that Zach Brown's, whatever, you know who I'm talking about. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. It was a small little titanium frame lock. So to me, a full titanium, both sides titanium frame lock made in America, that has some character and a good detent. Like, I kind of like these little suckers. I kind of look at this like kind of sort of like my slip joint. So like people that carry slip joints that like the little knives to have in their pocket and that sort of thing. It's kind of what I do with these. Like, I know some people ain't up on the clips or whatever else. They move a little bit. Like, I don't give a shit because this is never ever going in my primary pocket. Never. Small knife for me. This is what I would consider a left knife. You can see lengthwise, it's probably about spot on, but you can see like sizable difference between what I generally carry and what this McNee's would be. And this is my left pocket carry for the day. So, you know, it's not a completely unusual size for me for like a backup roll and that sort of thing. But at the same time, like, it's not something I would go seek out. But now that I got it, like, I don't know, what would you do with it? Like, I got two of them. Honestly, I thought Hot Rod would like this one and want to pocket it, but she's a flipper girl. She really is. So, like, she likes it, but she was like, I don't care. So, I guess I got two Mac 2s. Is it Mac 2? Yeah, Mac 2 3.5s. Version 2, I think that's what he's on. So anyway, I'm kind of a little undecided. A couple brothers going through some tough times. I know Will's going through a tough time right now. And obviously Eon's going through a tough time right now. Brother Shane's in the hospital right now, which I ain't found out what's going on with Shane yet. So I don't know. Maybe I'll kick it to one of them. Hopefully, like, I don't want to like give it to them from like a memorial, but like maybe to lighten their spirits kind of thing. I don't know. I haven't really decided what I'm going to do with them. So I guess time will tell. But anyway, it was fun to get back in the machine shop and do some machine work. I do miss doing machine shop stuff, but I don't miss the job of being a machinist, at least not for what I used to do anyhow. So I guess I'm going to try to get in there and do more things for me. I'm probably not going to take a whole lot of like other people's work unless I know you really well and know that if I fuck your knife up, you ain't going to be like wanting to try to kill me and shit. Not that I think anybody would, but you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like a certain amount of responsibility of taking on machine work needs to be quality machine work. And if I'm questionable on the machine, y'all know what I'm saying. Let's just leave it there. Let's call it. Like, I don't know how long the video is. I got to edit a bunch of stuff in. So let's call it there. And I hope y'all have a great week. We'll see you next week. Later, y'all.